Let's take just a quick moment to define these two, web servers and web applications. We just looked at an example of how IIS processes requests. And when we have a look at the diagram here, which is one of Microsoft's around how ASP.NET applications fit into the broader ecosystem of a web server, we can see that IIS sits down there on the actual operating system. It runs as part of Windows. Everything above there, the core CLR, the libraries, and then of course ASP.NET, NuGet packages and the application, all sit up there on top of the web server itself. Now, particularly when we talk about risks in web applications, we're predominantly talking about those top two tiers, My Application and the third-party NuGet packages. Now, the reason these are significant in terms of when we talk about hacking a web app is the tier that is My Application is built by developers building individual apps. This is where they make mistakes, such as creating SQL injection risks or allowing cross-site scripting attacks. And courses such as ethical hacking, hacking web applications, talk very much at that top layer. The third-party NuGet packages is when we're talking about bringing in external components into the app. They're components built by other developers that are designed to be reused. And certainly one of the risks that we frequently see within web application risks is using vulnerable third-party components. Now that is at the app layer. And in a case like this, in an ASP.NET application, it gets deployed with the application as well. We just saw some news headlines around how web servers had been compromised based on vulnerable third-party components. They were components that were running on the server. So still third-party code, but not running as part of the application within that user mode, but rather running on the host operating system. Now, it's not always that black and white either. We're increasingly seeing the lines between the application and the server blurred. ASP.NET is a great example. There is a lot that you can now configure in the web.config file of the app, so this is where most of the site configuration is done, that traditionally you could only configure on the actual server itself. Now, Microsoft has done this to make the server more easily configurable and allow that configuration to be versioned and deployed and become part of the application itself. But it also moves the risk. It moves the risk into the hands of the developers as opposed to being in the hands of the system administrator. So that's a brief look at the difference between the two. Let's go and take a look at one more thing in this module, and that's the role of cloud.